very much.
I want to make sure you guys understand the rights that you have first off. I'm going to read you what this says about your rights, okay? Because the one of them, I don't know if it, okay. Rights under OSHA. You have a right to a workplace free of hazards. You have the right to receive training on all safety aspects of your job. A right to a workplace free of hazards. That means or access to your injury and illness and medical records. Now remember, you're probably going to see a question somewhere along the line that has stuff, but you're only allowed to see yours. The only thing you're allowed to see that pertains to other people's information is this 300 and the 300A that goes along with it. Okay, the only other information you can get is your information. You have the right to complain to your employer or OSHA about a safety and a health problem. That's a right. You have that right. You have the right to participate in any OSHA inspection. And you have the right to participate and or testify in any proceedings related to an OSHA inspection. Okay, those are all your rights. You have that ability. Okay? So you also have the right for protection against retaliation for anything that you say. Okay. PPE. Who wears PPE here on your job? Who doesn't wear PPE? You usually?
Someone was nice enough and got him some prescription safety glasses finally.
Evan went and bought me a pair of safety glasses with bifocals. Employers are required to determine if PPE should be used to protect their workers. Okay? Now employers determine that if you think anything else is necessary, they can't keep you from wearing anything additional unless they feel it's going to cause more of a hazard. So if you're using a circular saw and you want to wear great big old honking gloves because your hands are cold, that's probably more of a hazard than a help to you, right? It's probably better to, if you can move the job inside or get some kind of torpedo heater out there and heat the area, but you don't want to wear something for your comfort to add to the minimum requirements that are going to make the job more dangerous. Okay? Okay. Handout 7, everybody should have. Let's see if this one comes up. No. Okay. So handout 7 has a list of employers must provide and pay for PPE. Okay? OSHA requires employers to protect you from the workplace that can cause injury or illness. Controlling hazard at its source, you guys can read that. Okay? PPE is equipment worn to minimize exposure to a variety of hazards. Examples include gloves, foot and eye protection, hearing protection, hard hats, and respirators. Employer obligations. Okay? You have to do a hazard assessment, identify and provide proper PPE, train the PPEs how to use it and to take care of it. That means when you're done using it, how to store it. Maintain PPE, including replacing damaged and worn. So, before you use PPE, what kind of inspection requirements are there for PPE?
Physical inspection, make sure it's in good working order.
How often? Every time you use it. And depending on the equipment, the manufacturer also has inspection requirements, depending on what it is. Okay? A pair of safety glasses sitting on the shelf probably don't have any manufacturer's recommended checking. But if you get some kind of cartridge that screws onto a mask, they might only be good for 3 months. So then your company has to do some kind of inspection where they check that cartridge every 3 months that's sitting on the shelf so that it is ready for you when you use it. Fire extinguishers are another, that's not really PPE, but you guys get, if the manufacturer says it should be inspected every so often to make sure it's good, then your company has to follow that or exceed that. So if it says annually and the company wants to do it every 6 months, but also you should inspect it before you use it. If you don't inspect it before you use it, not only are you not smart, then you can't prove to the company that it was a valuable piece of PPE after the fact, if you didn't check it before the fact. So, do what?
You become liable.
But you can't prove the employer that he wasn't you can't prove that the employer wasn't maintaining his equipment if you didn't check it before. So, I mean, you guys know rubber gloves, right? For electrical safety, you gotta use rubber gloves. It's not really hard to damage those if you know, you're not careful. You put them in a cabinet and they fall out and you shut the door on the cabinet and you say, oh crap, the glove got stuck in there. You pull it back open and throw it back on the shelf. And this is a glove that keeps you safe from, you know, electricity that takes 50 volts to kill you, and you're working around 480. So when you shut that glove in the door, there's nothing saying you didn't perforate that glove in any way, and the next time, first off, you should take care of it, but the next time somebody goes to use it, they need to check that glove because the company might have inspected it a week ago, and then 2 days later you shut it in the door, and 3 days later somebody goes to use it to work on, you know, 480 volts. So you should check it every time you use it. The electrical guys, I make you check gloves every time you use it, right? You flip them, pinch air in there, hold it, listen, feel, right? Every time you use gloves, if you don't check them, then you're taking your life in your own hands. Periodically reviewing, updating, and evaluating the effectiveness of the PPE program. So you might use cloth, you know, respirators for some kind of dust, and then you evaluate later on that dust might have, you might have sprayed that dust with, or that wood with something that cloth mask isn't good enough a protection for. So you might have to reevaluate the job, and you might have to go to like a half face mask with cartridges on it, something like that. So you should be continually reviewing your PPE requirements. If you as a worker say, hey, this is the PPE we've used for years, but this might make it better, bring that up to your company and let them reevaluate, okay? Workers should always wear it properly, attend your training sessions, care for and clean, and inform the supervisor if things don't work. Employers must pay for personal protective equipment. On May 15th, 2008, there's a new rule, right? At the bottom it says examples of PPE that employers must pay for. Foot protection. Now that doesn't mean if you're working in an office, the employer has to go buy you boots, okay? It has to be applicable to your job, okay? That the employer has determined that you need this protection. Rubber boots with steel toes, non-prescription eye protection. That's safety glasses, right? Prescription eyewear, inserts, goggles with face shields, firefighting PPE. That's only if you guys are on the fire brigade. If you're not part of a fire brigade, they don't have to provide that. Hearing protection and welding PPE, okay? On the back, employers are not required to pay for some PPE in certain circumstances, okay? You guys should all read those.
Unless you work for Idaho Tower, and they're awesome. They pay for everything. I mean, they pay for your clothes that you wear to work and everything, because they have a special standard that they've chosen as a company to go by. They even pay for your skin bond.
Yeah, some companies do, but
Most
actually the sunscreen they're not required to pay for, even though you're out in the sun a lot with that job. Okay, employers are not required to pay for everyday clothing such as long sleeve shirts, long pants, street shoes, normal work boots, ordinary clothing, skin creams and other items used solely for protection from weather such as winter coats, jackets, gloves. Well, you guys can read all that. Ordinary sunglasses and sunscreen. Items such as hairnets, gloves worn by food workers for consumer safety. Lifting belts. And it says here because their value in protecting the back is questionable. When the employee has lost or intentionally damaged the PPE and it must be replaced. So if you break something through neglect, or if you're given something and you lose it, then they don't have to pay to replace that. Okay? There's probably a quiz, a test question on this somewhere.